All right, welcome back. We're going to get into some mastering. And typically when I'm mixing a record, I'm going to mix into the master bus. I have the mix buses, I have the all buses, and then I go into my master bus. And this just gives me a lot more control. I think it's a pretty modern way of doing mixing and mastering together. If you can afford to go to another mastering engineer separate from the mixing engineer, all good, do that. But typically what I try to do either way is beat what a mastering engineer would do. And because I'm mixing the record, I want it to have my sonic imprint. So I don't want the mastering engineer to do too much. And, it's nice to have a second opinion for sure. Like if you can afford to get a mix done for, $500 to $800 from a professional, and then go to a mastering engineer and get it mastered for $200 to $300, then yeah, of course you might get a better product, but I think it's pretty minimal. You're talking like the 5%, right? So even like the greatest mixing engineers in the world, they will sometimes their master and their mix and master will beat what the mastering engineer they send it off to can do. And they just end up going back to the mix and master that the mixing engineer did. Typical today in 2021, and even before this, like 2018, is to make sure that anything you send to the client is done, like it's finished, right? Like I'm not going to send the client something and say, here's the mix, give me notes on the mix, right? And then do the master, and then all of a sudden he goes, what the hell, this came out and that came out and I don't like this and I don't like that, right? So I'm going to mix it, master it, I'm going to make sure it's loud enough. I usually try to get to 9 LUFs, -9, sit right around there, and I'll show you some tools I use to measure that. I do have a mastering masterclass that goes deeper into these concepts. If you want to pick that up, I think it's like $20. Well worth it. It goes into just the mastering process, preparing for the master, all that stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into that stuff, but I'm going to show you my chain and kind of how I deal with mastering when I get to this phase here. Okay, so right now, I'm actually pretty far along with the mix. Much further along than I usually am before I start putting on mastering bus compression and any processing whatsoever. So it's actually pretty rare for me to get this far and not have anything on my master bus. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to check out a couple things I like to use to kind of hear where everything's at. But the biggest thing I want to do with this master bus is I want to widen things out. I want to make things more exciting. I want to glue things, but I also want things to become more separated, right? Through the mastering, through the cleanup of the complex material that's hitting the master bus, which is everything all at once, all those frequencies, all that dynamic, all those transients, right? So we have to be really careful with that, and we have to treat it right. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a BX Digital V3, which is a mid-side EQ I like to use. And it's a great mastering EQ. It's nice to use to hear stuff. It solos out the bands as you go through them, all that stuff. So it's something I really like. I like to start off with a starting point of the mid-side mastering start. So I just, MS mastering start. And I typically will just even out all this stuff. Like I don't want any bass shift or any of that stuff. I don't want the mono maker on. I don't want any bass shift on the mids or on the sides. So this is the mono section, which is the center, right? Your center image, and then the stereo section, which will be the sides. So I just want to make sure that everything's clear. Like you could see this has, a filter on there and a filter on there. I'm going to keep those filters off. I'm going to keep this one on though. I do want a high pass filter. And I'll probably high pass around like 25 hertz just to be safe, just a safety zone. And then on the stereo, I usually go up to about twice that. So I'll go like 50, 60 hertz. And that's just basically filtering out all that, anything under 60 hertz at a 6 dB per octave. So, obviously you have a very light slope here in the sides. So now the next thing I like to do is I like to stereo it just a little bit. I do like maybe 115 or so percentage. I never go past 120, 120% because I'm going to use other things to get more width out of the mix, out of the master. And then the next thing is I'm just going to play it and I'm going to check out how levels are coming in and see what I got to balance to get the levels correct coming into this. And then remember, we have these we have the all Vox, the all drums bus, the all instrument bus. And then I move some things back around because this is now I'm in the mastering phase. I like to move all my buses back up so I could see them. So I got my bass mix bus, perc mix bus, instrument mix bus, Vox mix bus, drum master bus, which is fed by the drum mix bus. That's going to the all drums, all Vox, all instruments. This is going to the drum mix bus, which goes to the drum master bus, which goes to the all drums bus. Just make sure everything's going to the all buses, and you could check that really easily by soloing and muting. So we're going to do that real quick and make sure all my routing's good.
In 707.
Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm not really hitting any red on this BX Digital. Because we are in the mastering phase, I want to keep a lot of headroom. So I'm going to go to the loudest part, which I know is going to be the outro. And I'm going to play this and I'm going to adjust levels going into this. So we can, gain stage basically. So I don't mind some transients starting to trigger the red on the output here. I'm okay with that. I don't think that that's a big deal. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to those little red overages as the snare hits, right? It's like, okay, snare's hitting and, going over, big deal. So it's a 24-bit, we're talking about really like a very big dynamic range here. So clipping within the box on a plugin that's going at 24-bit, 32-bit, most of these plugins even, it's not going to do anything, right? So don't be afraid of some red, and use your ears. I always have to talk about that with every masterclass or tutorial I ever do. It's like, it's kind of a basic principle, but definitely just use your ears. Super important. Okay, now I'm going to look for any treble frequencies in the middle and how I can get that vocal to kind of pop through a little bit more. And I'll show you through these, through these frequencies here in the mono section. We're just going to find some stuff. I can hear some build up, so I'm going to try to get rid of some of it. So that 197, that 200 area, that's just kind of getting like it's starting to get really woofy. And that's okay. Like, I'm just going to clear it up a little bit because I don't think it's a bad thing in the mix. I just think it's kind of clogging up probably the vocal area and the bass and all that stuff. So let's just kind of tighten it up. And then I want a little bit more low beefiness here. So I'm going to go around 50, 60 and see what we got here. Okay, and then I'm going to actually go to the instrument bus, and I'm just going to tame that down just a little bit. So I just feel like the instrument bus is pretty loud, like the guitars are really up front, kind of crushing the drums a little bit. So I'm going to go to the instrument mix bus, or I'm sorry, the all instrument bus. And a lot of the times I'll do this, I'll just throw like a compressor on there, even a limiter. Let's just pop a limiter on here. just to catch some overages and kind of keep it a little bit safer on the instrument bus so that I don't have anything like zing, 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 you know, flying off the hinges. So let's go and pick up something like, here we go. Let's go to the soft tube and the Weiss compressor limiter. And I think this will also kind of give these instruments just a little bit more glue, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah. So in here, this is the threshold knee, all that stuff. You could see all that. I might even parallel it a little bit, but I doubt it. I'll just kind of take a little bit off the top. Just kind of helps glue it a little bit more with those guitars. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in these sides. I want to get rid of some of the chunkiness in the sides as well, so we can get a little more clarity in the stereo. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the rap verses area, and I want to get this vocal kind of popping a little bit more. Maybe even the singing areas is what I'm thinking, where he's singing. So like the oohs, ahs kind of stuff here. I think, yeah, like chorus 2 here. Let's listen to this. Yeah, it's really starting to clear up. I like it a lot. It's just now you're hearing a big difference in gain, obviously, because I took 3 dB off of the EQ here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw on a compressor to get the glue back together, which, you know, G Series SSL is going to be great. So the Townhouse bus compressor is always good for this. You know, you can use all sorts of stuff. Slate Digital makes like a good Manley variable mu kind of plug-in. I think the variable mu would be great for something like this. Anything to kind of give you glue and cohesiveness back. And I would even, like, if I need to, I'll even use some parallel with this. But I'm just going to kind of take a little off the top. Maybe 2 dB, maybe 2 to 3 dB, somewhere around there. So let's try this out. Okay, that's doing wonders for it. I'm going to go back to this bass mix bus because I'm starting to realize there's a lot of that chunky chubbiness in here, and I think it's probably around this area that at first I was trying to boost. I think I now want to kind of dip a little bit of it out. And just to show a little more presence of the bass, we'll put like some 1K in here to get some fingers and stuff. We might even go up to 2. We'll check it out here. You know, just tighten the bass up just a little bit. That's the vibe I'm looking for. And then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get just a little bit more, you know, for me it's like it needs like more like volume, but like more like harmonics, like more, you know, more flavor, I guess is the best way to put it. So in here I'm going to grab the, this will give it a lot more stereo as well. I'm going to go to the VCM3, and that's under UAD. It's like the last plugin, yeah, VSM3, sorry. Okay, and then here I'm going to do a mid-side thing here, so I'm going to go mid-side master, and this is going to be my starting point. I'm going to take this drive pretty far down. This is going to be the low end, so it's going to be the middle, right? So we're going to go low, and that's going to be in the middle, right? And then I'm just going to kind of shape this a little bit. And I won't know until I hear it, but I just know I want to start with, you know, something more like this. All right, and then shape this a little bit, not so much distortion, and that's going to be in the sides, so the high mids and the sides. So let's check this out and see what this is doing. Yeah, so that's doing great stuff for it. I'm going to check it on the rap verse as well. It just widens it out, thickens it out, makes it more rock and roll, but also kind of just, you know, breathes life to it, gives it more dimension. There's depth to the reverbs and everything. So, and all that is just giving you some distortion on stuff. I did a plugin of the week on this plugin. I love it. I use it all the time on mastering. I don't use it on everything. If something needs to be clean, obviously, I don't use it, but it can be very clean either way. So I'm going to play it for these verses and see what it's doing on the verses here.
Listen up, children. Now the story I first heard from a long time ago was never to go out in the woods all alone. People go missing and never make it home. No decent burial, not even one bone. Portals hidden in trees. Listen up, children. Now the story I first heard from a long time ago was never to go out in the woods all alone. People go missing and never make it home. No decent burial, not even one bone. Portals hidden in trees, no you can't see him. He's calling shots far beyond dig bag and trim. A buddy too lamp short, I heard him yelling at him. Well, if you wanna burn your slash, won't you do it downwind? Watches taking chances, crossing strings and breaking branches, popping seeds and
We got to bring this guitar down. There's no way it's going to work on the verse. It's just like clouding everything. So, especially the vocals, right? We don't want anything stepping on the vocals ever.
children. Now the story I first heard heard from a long time ago was never to go out in the woods all alone. People go missing and never make it home. No decent burial, not even one bone. Portals hidden in trees, no you can't see him. He's calling shots far beyond Big Bag and Trim, a buddy tooth lamp.
Another thing is for the rap verse to really stand out, I want to maybe push a little bit more on the top stuff. Something spitty, something top end. I might even throw in a Pultec here just to give me some high end stuff that I'm gonna want to hear. I just feel like the vocal could be so much more, you know, have a little more top to it. I don't know what this is. I don't know why. I probably just grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, I did totally. I'm not going for that. I was going for the UAD EQP1A. So let's go to the Pultec here. Min no P. EQP1A. There we go. And then I'm just going to boost up here and attenuate as well. This just changes the curve. And then I'm going to either go 3 to 5 somewhere in here. Let's start with like 5. And then I'm going to boost and attenuate just to give me a little bit more of a shape down at the bottom, which I like it at 30. It's going to be a, 30 doesn't mean 30, by the way. It means like it'll affect it all the way up to like 120.
Children. Now the story I first heard from a long time ago was never to go out in the woods all alone. People go missing and never make it home. No decent burial, not even one bone. Portals hidden in trees, no you can't see him. He's calling shots far beyond Big Bag and Trim, a buddy tooth lamp short. I heard him yelling at him. Well, if you wanna burn your slash, what you do it down when? Watches taking chances, crossing streams and breaking bread.
And then automatically when I hear the singing part come on, I definitely want to treat that the same way.
Burial.
Oops.
Watches taking chances. Watches taking chances, crossing streams and breaking branches.
Just gives it so much more detail. I can hear the vocal doesn't get buried. That's really important. So as you're mastering, those things will kind of come up. A mix is a mix, right? You change one thing, it changes another thing. You affect this thing, it's going to affect that other thing. That's how we mix. It's part of the game, right? You go back and forth, micro moves, and that's how you're going to get a great mix. All right, so from here, this VCM 3 is doing great. VSM 3 is great. I want to start to maybe give a little bit more volume and spank. And I really like, the Sonics inflator for this. This is really good. I'm just starting to add harmonics because harmonics are going to give this thing life. It's going to bring it to life. It's going to put it forward, going to make it more radio. And then we'll start to shape that a little bit afterwards. So let's hear this.
Chances, crossing streams and breaking branches, popping seeds and growing trees, and stopping avalanches. He won't take no for an answer. There's no going back if he won't let you. Growing trees is all he knows, and peeping at you through the upstairs window. Water's rock slide, better know where you're at. 36101 Redwoods attack. You gotta stay on the road when you're leading the black. Those people flying off the edge just like Susie's a cat. When you show up, take a second, don't forget where you're at. Now don't get caught in your tit, that's a Z-Spot's trap. Now all aboard, come along to the back of the woods. From the song and sing along, it'll be all good. Swatches on heaven. Much about the squatching his beers. I'm trying to make an honest living and be just like him. I'd like a cabin in the...
All right, starting to really sit together, starting to sound tight, starting to come forward a little bit. It's widened. It's gotten a little deeper. Now let's go to this outro and make sure that we have levels right. Okay, just to bring some more air to those overheads without, you know, doing this, I'm actually going to do the the slate plugin again here, and I'm going to put that air in there because I think that'll be really nice. Just a little sparkle up top. I don't want much, but when you hear those hi-hats, I want a little sizzle in there. I'm just not I'm not getting that, so I want to bring that up. It'll also kind of bring the hi-hats up in the stereo imaging as well, so it's really important. So this fresh air, I'll probably just go to the higher and just bring that up just a little bit. Let's see what's up. Yeah, I like that. It's just going to give it a little bit of top there, a little sizzle on those hi-hats as they come in. And then I think we're good here with the inflator. Let's hear it maybe on the pre-chorus here. See what we got.
Swatches taking chances, crossing streams and breaking branches, popping seeds and growing trees, and stopping avalanches. He won't take no for an answer. There's no going back if he won't let you. Growing trees is all he knows, and peeping at you through the upstairs window. Floodwaters, rock slide, better know where you're at. 36101 Redwoods attack. You gotta stay on the road when you're bleeding the black. Those people flying off the edge just like Suzy's a cat. You show up the
Sounding good so far, so let's get into some limiting and some, you know, get into the final mastering, okay? Here we go.